What's good, guys? Welcome back to another video. Yesterday's trade ended up going superbly well. If you guys watched also the point where I talk about Solana, like if I had a choice to pick between Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and Hyperliquid, I would definitely pick Solana. Once again, that has come true. Also, a quick shout out to all of you who, tried to take the trade. Unfortunately, because yesterday was CPI, there were half of you where you may have hit just under 2R or maybe 1.5R before price retraced pretty aggressively. In that case, just understand that the input quality is okay. To those of you who were in that situation, just understand one thing, that you did the right thing, because prior to the event itself, we got CIC, as I called on Twitter. By the way, if you haven't followed me on Twitter yet, this is where I'm going to do some live trading, especially based on the calls that you guys are watching here on this video. Feel free to follow me at _the_art_of_crypto. I will leave the link down below. So like earlier, I called that the setup's already valid and you just want to take a long. And afterwards, I even gave another tweet where okay, I'm going to be looking for either one of these levels to get hit before price goes up. That is indeed what happened. And then back, if we take a look, that is the fair value gap. And for yesterday, the 2R, and this again reinforces the importance of just taking a 2R trade and getting out with it. To be fair, even though we did ultimately puck really aggressively yesterday after CPI, during CPI itself, if you had just placed the trade, you would have got stuff out, and it wouldn't be another hour later before price actually showed another willingness to go towards the upside. Don't get me wrong there, overall we're still in bullish conditions, and for today the trade is not going to be too different. We're still going to be looking for longs. I'm going to talk about ETH. I'm going to talk about Solana. Also going to talk about BNB because it just formed a new all-time high. And there's an opportunity there. But anyways, to the people that ended up taking a loss yesterday, even though you felt like you were doing the right thing, that keep it up, because the game trading is all about input quality and it's not about the final result. I want you to think of trading as kind of like a system. And the reason why I say that is because sometimes you could be doing the right thing and it just doesn't end up giving you the result that you were looking for. That is perfectly normal. There are also certain cases in trading where you just take a gamble, you go purely on emotions, there's no TA, just coin flip basically, and you end up winning. Now, can you surely say that scenario B was, proper self trading? Not really. On the flip side of the equation, can you say that scenario A was really bad trading? Not really. You were doing the right things. It's just the market played out in a way that did not quite give you the result. But would you agree that if you continued to do the right thing time and time again, and you continue doing this for 6, 12, 24 months, that you would ultimately make way more money than you would otherwise be able to imagine? That's the game trade that I've just boiled down in a nutshell. If you did the right thing yesterday, don't worry about it. Sometimes the market's going to stop you out just barely before price reverses back into the direction that we knew that we were going in. It's perfectly normal. Some of you are lucky, some of you are unlucky. It's okay. It's just one trade out of many, and just keep going. As long as you are executing the system right, I promise you, again, you guys have already seen it. Yesterday marked the 105th win under the last 130 calls. This is a system that makes more money over time than it loses. And so as long as you continue to execute this well, you will be successful. Before we get into the charts, real quick, the masterclass starts tomorrow. Today is your last day to sign up. If you've ever been interested in swing trading or learning about liquidity concepts or learning about market maker models, tomorrow is the day where we're going to be holding a masterclass. If you're interested, first link in the description box below. But otherwise, let's get back into the video. Now, kicking things off on Bitcoin, yesterday closed rather bullishly. Of course, we still have that weekly order block that we had just bounced through. So in the long term, again, we are still looking extremely bullish, and ideally, you are still going to want to accumulate the positions here. For those of you that actually listened when I was telling you guys, hey, this is a bullish order block, regardless of how long price spends inside this bullish order block, this is the level where you want to accumulate positions. I also said the same thing about this fair value gap right here. I also said the same thing about these two fair value gaps, knowing that I didn't know which one was going to be the bottom, but I know for a fact that both of these are going to have a very high likelihood of giving you returns as long as you are thinking a little bit more long term. This is also one of those situations. You are not too late to accumulate positions yet. We have a interest rate event happening next week during Wednesday, I believe, on the 17th of September. And if you don't know what that means, essentially there is going to be a rate cut next week, or at least there is a 90 to 100% chance of getting a rate cut. And the reason why this matters is because risk-on assets like Bitcoin, like Ethereum, your stock market, NASDAQ, S&P 500, whatever, they thrive under low interest rate environments. The reason being, when the interest rates are low, liquidity is much more abundant within the system. And liquidity meaning excess liquidity, meaning the more money that's flowing in the economy, well, guess what? People are going to have more spare cash to throw into investments like Bitcoin and all of this stuff. And this is what we saw back in the 2021 bull market. One of the big reasons that, the altcoin market as well as Bitcoin, well, Bitcoin was impressive, but nowhere close to as impressive as the altcoins. The reason why they were able to thrive is because you were in the right market condition where you had an abundance of liquidity and the money was just flowing. And we're about to start that phase again next week. So everything is adding up to the fact that it's most likely going to be bullish. And so if you're a long-term investor, whatever, if you're a swing trader, look to accumulate your positions here. There will be a new all-time high, without a doubt. And even if there isn't, guess what? This is going to be the first time since 2022, like the end of 2022, basically 3 years ago, where every single time you would have been fine just buying the dip and just stand higher. If this side fails, guess what? First time in 3 years, I'd say that's a pretty good track record. And it's never too late to just take your profits here and then just start shorting all the way down to the bear market bottom or whatever. I'm not stepping in. Not saying that a bear market's coming. I do think that a bull market is about to resume. So don't miss out on this. Let's understand that we are nowhere close to bearish at the very moment. Anyways, coming back down into the daily chart, we close really bullish, which means today we're going to be looking for positions towards the long side. And again, this is still the external range liquidity that we are still targeting. And today the setup is going to be super straightforward. One part that I do want to mark up is this fair gap right here. It is tiny, but this is still a valid fair gap. And so in the event that price retraces into this area, you're going to want to look at price bounce from there. But otherwise, let's head down into the lower timeframes and see what we have to work with. In terms of the lower timeframes, so far we have swept out some form of liquidity during the London session. As of the time that I'm recording this video, it is 4 a.m. And so right now you are sweeping out the liquidity right before some kind of fair gap. This is a really good sign. And I'm going to get into that more in just a tiny bit. Besides that, we also have this order block that we could potentially retrace into. Both levels are valid. To those of you who are wondering right now, if you have the question, which one's going to be the bottom? Well, which one's going to be the higher probability one? The truth is, I don't know, and I don't need to know either in order to make money from trading. A lot of people, especially beginners, they have this misconception that, to trade profitably or to make money, you need to learn how to predict the markets. The truth is, it's more about just mapping out, a couple of high probability scenarios that are likely to happen throughout the day. And once you actually get into those zones, then you simply take position. Well, guess what? You already have a set of criteria that you're looking for. And if those criteria get met, then you are getting into a trade. This is a very systematic way of trading. And especially if you have been trading with me on Twitter, you know how this works. Essentially, both of these can be valid. I don't know if price going to bounce from here. I don't know if price going to bounce from here. But whatever the case, I'm going to map out the game plan for you so that you know exactly what to do. Besides that, in the event that we do start bouncing from here, then by the time that you're watching this video, you're going to want to look for a close, or rather you want to look for price to go above 115,600, not 115,550. And then you're going to want to look for price to kind of turn this entire down closed candle here into a bullish order block. So essentially break above, support here, continue high. So that's going to be scenario number 3. But for now, it's going to be both of these scenarios, depending again on what time you guys see the video. Anyways, down to the 5-minute chart, you will also see that the Asia low has been swept. So that is liquidity. That is the Asia low that was just swept during London, which tends to be the manipulation session, right at a higher time frame PD array. This is a higher time frame fair value gap. And so I don't think this is a coincidence. Again, we have seen this happen time and time again, that this is one of the bread and butter setups for at least this channel right here, based on the trading that I do. So today, the setup's going to be super straightforward. It's going to be an 8, N, and then London distribution towards the outside. This move during London, essentially, is just some kind of a manipulation to trick most retail traders into thinking that the market is in fact going down, when in reality, it's just trapping out people, making sure that nobody's on this train, except for the market makers, and then boom, they're going to pop the trade towards the upside. This is a very simplified version of the this is a very simplified explanation, of course, but you get the idea. One other risk to keep in mind is that because we have news today at 10 a.m., which is by traditional standards a little bit later than usual. Like most news, for example, this week on Wednesday we had news at 8:30. Yesterday we had news at 8:30. Today we have news at 10 a.m., which means that there is a possibility that London could be an extended accumulation session where during the early hours of New York, meaning 7 a.m., 8 a.m., potentially even 9 a.m., you may get a second sweep of the existing London low. And if that happens, then you're most likely going to fill in this value gap again, or you're going to fill in this order block right here. Regardless, it doesn't matter. Just expect that if another liquidity sweep or a couple of liquidity sweeps happen again, that is like within expectations, and you're still going to be looking for longs. And the way that you determine when it is that you jump into a long is once you get a change in state of delivery. Now, just to give you an idea, you can argue that this leg right here has been in the sake of bearish order flow, because this is a bearish order block. Price breaks out, comes back up to retest the bearish order block, fails to break above it, and forms a new low. So now this becomes your new bearish order block. So right now, price is retesting it right now, and it seems to be breaking lower, but nothing's confirmed. Now, if price were to be able to form a high low here and break above this bearish order block right here, this is known as a CISD, change in state of delivery, which means that you are now shifting from bearish order flow to bullish order flow. And that's exactly what you want to look for. I want you to imagine for a moment that if we were to come all the way down here, well, guess what? This entire leg here is going to be in bearish order flow, and you do not want to be trading, or rather, do not want to be buying into bearish order flow. So you're going to wait for a signal to show you that, hey, the market wants to go up. Only then, and only then, do you start jumping with the long. So once you get a HCISD here, bang, bang, place your order here, place the stop loss, place your 2R trade, and that's going to be easy. It's exactly what we've done yesterday. It's exactly the setup that we took on Wednesday. It's exactly the setup that, well, actually, not really on Tuesday, and definitely not on Monday. So again, the playbook is super simple. Just look for a retracement into this area. Now, if there is one key timing that I would give you, the way you want to focus your efforts, it would be the hour before news and the hour after news. So if you are, a little bit busy, then focus most of your trading today at around 9 a.m. 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. is when you will likely get your entry. Or otherwise, if there is no entry there, then look for the entry to show up between 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. This is known as trading around news. Oftentimes on news days, the hour before news and the hour after news tends to be a high probability kind of period. And you want to focus your attention on that, kind of 80-20. If there's 20% of the time where you pay attention to the markets that will drive 80% of the results, it's most likely going to be within those couple of hours. Now, not to say that nothing can happen. For example, right now, you've already started the process of a CISD. Take a look here. That's an up close candle. You've already closed above it. So technically, retracing back into here, this is already a CISD, which means right now I could already enter a trade. Bang, 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 bang. And I may potentially even enter a trade later, but just understand that if you start watching this video and let's say price is already pumped, don't worry about it. Again, I've given you an setup, which is once you close off all of these down close candles here, this is going to become your new bullish order block, and you're going to want to look for price to actually find this as support before going up. You're going to want to look for this to happen all before 10 a.m. So at 10 a.m., like let's say at this point, this is 9 a.m. Okay, and then you start retracing 10 a.m. back, probably something like this. To those of you who've watched my videos before, understand, like you guys have seen it before. Like I'm able to kind of predict the timing almost to a very scary degree. And the truth is, it's nothing complicated. It's nothing magical either. It's just getting a really good understanding of when high volatility periods during the day are likely going to be. And beauty about news days is that you pretty much know that, for example, yesterday, 8:30, the hour before, hour after, there's probably going to be something happening. You just need to figure out what. Between 9 to 11, there is going to be something happening. You just need to figure out what. So hopefully this gives you a really clear game plan heading into Bitcoin. If you watch until this point so far, by the way, like I realized in the last 2 to 3 days, the amount of news that I've been getting has been going down quite substantially. So if you could take the time to just leave a comment, show some appreciation, show some hate, whatever, ask a question, I'll be happy to answer. By the way, I do read and answer every single one of the comments down below. So yeah, start interacting, drop a like, and let's boost this algorithm, eh? But anyways, moving on to, well, I think that's my job done here on Bitcoin. So let's start talking about Ethereum. We're going to talk about Solana next, and we're going to talk about BNB. So Ethereum, you finally got a bullish change in state of delivery that has in fact happened yesterday. Again, there is still a bunch of relatively equal lows back here that I do expect to get filled sometime, although potentially not today. Yesterday's candle closed bullish, and so today we are bullish as well on Ethereum. This is your range liquidity at 46.60, and this is a support level here at 44.46 because that is the previous candle high of the CISD. Like, let me just mark it up so that we don't lose this. So this is CISD, essentially retrace, bang. You've kind of already seen it today, but let's hop into the lower time frames to kind of narrow this down a bit more. So in terms of Ethereum, what's interesting compared to Bitcoin is that on Bitcoin, you're already filling in that sell-side liquidity followed by the fair value gap. And on Ethereum, you're not. In fact, Ethereum, all you're doing is you're retracing back into this order block right here, as well as this family gap. So the way that you kind of iterate whatever I just taught you guys on Bitcoin is you want to look for a retracement into either here or here, and then look for 500 CISD in between the hours of 9 to 11. It could happen at 8 a.m. as well, like between the hours of 8 to 9. But just keep in mind that it's going to be the timing window that you want to see price retraces either one of these levels and start showing some kind of bullish reaction. If you see it, that is your trigger, and you can jump right into it. And so if I could focus on one chart rather than the other, I'd probably lean towards Bitcoin. Like comparatively speaking, I could be wrong, but I would pick Bitcoin over Ethereum because at the very least, right, with Bitcoin, you have already swept out the Asia lows, and there's a very clear kind of like thesis for Bitcoin going into today. Whereas on Ethereum, it's a little bit less clear. In fact, you're kind of getting reverse manipulation here, where London has swept the Asia highs. And so you're definitely looking for a retrace on Ethereum before pumping. Hopefully that gives you a clear comparison as to how I think about what charts to focus on. And because if there's one thing that I will never do, and one thing I never suggest you guys do, is to take multiple crypto positions at the same time. Like if you start, like whatever coin that you pick today, make sure you just stick to one and at most two. Because the truth is, the entirety of crypto, it doesn't matter what it is, it's the same chart with just like different packaging on it. Like everything is essentially like a Bitcoin chart, with some just be called Solana and some be called BNB. Now I know that's again a very oversimplified way to think about it, but if you stop for a moment, if Bitcoin dumps, what's going to happen to Solana and all of these other altcoins? If Bitcoin comes, what's going to happen to all of these other coins? Chances are it's going to pump. And now I'm not saying this is happening 100% of the time, but it is also true that all altcoins are highly correlated to Bitcoin, which means whatever Bitcoin does, altcoins do as well. So I want you to imagine you start taking on 5 positions, 5 longs today at the same time. And if you're wrong on, let's say, just Bitcoin, and Bitcoin dumps, you're going to lose all 5 positions at the same time. So it's never a smart idea to open multiple positions on altcoins. The most that I would ever do is like 2. And even on to 2, I'm not going to take full risk on both of them. The way that I would approach it is I would have my de facto, like my personal de facto best, charts. For example, yesterday was Solana. And so Solana, I'm going to take a 1% risk. And then let's say my number 2 chart was Bitcoin, then I'm going to take on 0.5% on Bitcoin. And that's it. And it is perfectly fine to ignore the rest. Ultimately, as a trader, you are paid based on the quality of the decisions that you make, not on the amount of trades that you take. A lot of people understand this in theory, but do they really understand? Anyways, with Solana, you are now breaking above a very key level on the daily chart right now. That is a daily resistance level, and you are quite clearly closing above it. This is obviously very bullish for Solana. I've been talking about this for a few days now. Solana has been incredibly bullish ever since you got the changes to delivery towards the outside on this handle right here. You spend the next 2 weeks retracing. Again, I was telling you guys, this block right here is going to be the long-term kind of accumulation zone before the next pump upwards. That is in fact what happened. Again, there's a reason why you guys follow this channel. It's because you make money watching these videos. And like, that was a bit intense. But anyways, yesterday's candle closed bullish. Today we are also looking for bullish trades. However, we've already started today pretty big pump. Again, with the same concept as Bitcoin. Right here you have family gap. Right here you have an order block, and you have here a family gap as well. Now it doesn't matter if you retrace into this or that. The setup is simple. Look for retracing to either one of these levels. Look for some kind of upside during the hours between 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. That's going to be your setup. Take it at 2 up. I'm not going to give you targets for today because truthfully, like this is going to be the external range liquidity at $244.7. I'm not going to say that this is going to be hit today, but like just get out at 2 up and you're going to be good because that is truthfully all you need. Now, BNB, what a day. Who could have thought that? Well, back in 2021, everyone said that BNB was going to go to $1,000. Guess what? It took 4 years later than expected, but so happy that we are at $900. Right now, you're close above the previous all-time high. This is another change set in delivery. Now, this entire series of downward candles here could potentially turn into support for BNB, which means that when you retrace any one of these areas here, in the price continue towards the upside. Yesterday, it closed pretty bullish as well. I'm probably not going to be looking for a long trade on BNB today, as compared to Bitcoin and Solana and Ethereum. The reason being, you're just taking out the previous all-time high. Usually, once you take out the previous all-time high, you tend to retrace a little bit, just to punish the people that did not take their profits, or at least did not take their long profits on the way up, and just eradicating their profits so that they will be tempted to close their position up here before price continues. This is why you always see after taking our previous all-time highs and taking our previous highs, you will do a little bit of a retrace. One, to punish the lots. Secondly, is to punish the breakout traders that are, oh, you know, just what about previous all-time high? Let's buy it right at the top. Well, guess what? They are going to get reversed and get long squeezed. So that's going to be what's happening. So for today, intraday wise, this is probably going to go down. Am I going to take a short? No. But like comparatively speaking, I'm not looking for a long here. You're already starting to get a potential CISD. So if you start retracing here and you start breaking lower, making a new low, well, guess what's going to happen to BNB? But in terms of the long term, take a look at the daily chart here. You have odd block right here. Of course, this entire block is support, and you have a fair bit of gap. So don't sleep on BNB. Like this is going to hit $1,000 after this retrace, and when it does, you're going to be thankful. Like if you take action from this video, you're going to be thankful that it did. Speaking about taking action, guys, the masterclass tomorrow is going to be one of the most valuable masterclasses that we posted to date. If you have ever been interested in getting a complete swing trading framework, make sure you join the masterclass tomorrow. But otherwise, have a good trading day. I'll see you guys on Twitter later, and see you guys next week. Ciao, ciao.